Mr. Bob Hawke dropping, a baby born at last night's Elton John concert in Perth, and in sport, Greg Chappell announces he's decided to continue playing first-class cricket. Now the details. Collie has been chosen as the site for the third Southwest Power Station. The decision was announced by the state government late today.
The idea of a third powerhouse for the region was mooted by the previous Liberal government, and all along it was thought it would be built at Bunbury next to the existing power station. However, last year new reserves of water were discovered at Collie, and the town immediately came to the fore. Today, state government officially announced if the power station goes ahead, then it will be built at Collie near the Muja power station. The discovery of water at Collie and the announcement it had become the favourite over Bunbury sparked off rhetoric, with Bunbury claiming the power station for its own. However, today, City Mayor Dick McKenzie was philosophical about the decision.
I think they've come up with a decision which is, in my opinion, is the only logical opinion to come to, and because that's where the raw material is, and I think it's a logical place to build it. Well, I'm naturally disappointed from a Bunbury point of view, but it's in our region, and I think it'll give a lot longer life to the Collie coalfields.
However, all is not cut and dried, as the powerhouse is still dependent on the aluminium smelter.
And Mr. Burke says a full-scale feasibility study into the proposed Southwest aluminium smelter is likely to begin later this year. His announcement follows talks in the United States with aluminium producer Reynolds Metals, a major partner in the Worsley Alumina project. Mr. Burke says a number of aspects of the proposed project about which Reynolds had reservations are being resolved. He says there are still a number of hurdles to be overcome before the project becomes a reality, but he believes it is firmly on course. Talks will get underway in Perth later this month between the state government, Reynolds, and South Korea's ICC on the $5 million feasibility study. And the Worsley refinery has started its lengthy start-up procedure, which should see it produce its first alumina towards the end of this month. Bauxite was introduced to the production unit today in a move which will eventually involve the commissioning of 2 500,000-ton production units. The refinery has been established at a capital cost of almost $1.2 billion and will employ 750 people at full production. Alcoa of Australia says it plans to expand its Wagerup alumina refinery, but not in the immediate future. Premier Brian Burke predicted the expansion after speaking with the company's management in Pittsburgh.
The refinery is producing about 600,000 tonnes of alumina per year. However, Alcoa is aiming at increasing their production to 2 million tonnes per year. Pittsburgh management appears to be enthusiastic about expanding the refinery and conveyed their excitement to the Premier. This, coupled with the projected growth in world demand for alumina and efficiency in the company's West Australian operations, seem to point to pending expansion. Mr. Burke issued a media statement claiming Alcoa was about to undertake new developments. However, refinery manager Malcolm Wills today explained Alcoa is not ready for another production unit. Mr. Wills did say, though, developments will occur before the end of the year if world market conditions remain favourable or improve. But the major decision to expand will rest with Australian management. Mr. Burke, still on his United States tour, was unavailable for comment. Jill Colgan, Golden West Network News.
3 regional politicians are tipped to get jobs in the state shadow cabinet, following a meeting of joint opposition parties in Perth today. The policy meeting was called by the new Liberal leader Bill Hassel.
This morning's meeting was held at Parliament House, and according to a spokesman, the combined parliamentary opposition has adopted a full shadow cabinet of 16. However, the meeting was only to decide the opposition's strategy, and the meeting will be held later this week to decide who actually gets what. And 3 regional parliamentarians are tipped to get top jobs. Vass MLA Barry Blakey, who is currently the spokesman on forests and Bunbury 2000, is likely to pick up those 2 portfolios. Whereas the former Minister for Agriculture and leader of the National Country Party, Dick Auld, is expected to get the agriculture brief. Whilst Narrogin MLA Peter Jones is tipped to be appointed as the Shadow Minister for Resource Development. The new leader of the Parliamentary Liberal Party and state opposition, Bill Hassel, is expected to hold private talks with all contenders, and a full rundown on shadow ministers is expected later this week or early next.
A Bunbury chemist ordered to close by the City Council says he'll take his fight to the state government. He's organised a petition to back his campaign to stay open.
Began for the drive-in chemist last month when the Bunbury Council ordered the business closed because of current zoning conditions. Bob Sherman, the proprietor of the threatened business, has rallied the support of both local businesses and the public. A petition started only 2 weeks ago has over 800 signatures, and more are being added daily. Sherman is trying to see that the support does not go to waste.
What I'd like to do is either give it straight to the Minister for Town Planning, Peter Dowding, or better still probably to the Premier himself, Brian Burke. If I can give it to Brian Burke and he can intercede between the Council and myself, I believe I may have a fighting chance.
Sherman hopes to have 1,000 names on his petition when he takes it up to the Minister next week. But time is running out for the chemist. The Council deadline for the move is April 2nd. If he is not moved by that time, he is liable to a $2,000 fine and $200 daily. Guy Bevilacqua, Golden West Network News.
The demise of an unwanted Bunbury landmark coming up shortly.
I feel best home in the West.
Home Building Society got Jack and I started almost 30 years ago, and now they're helping our son and daughter-in-law with their first home loan. Richard and Sally are also enjoying all the other convenient services Home have to offer, and Jack and I are still feeling right at home too, with Home's high return income bonds.
You feel right at home.
Let's do it for WA. Let's keep West Australia beautiful, and don't just throw it away.
Don't throw it away.
Outside doing things you love to do. Let's put it in a bin, you know it's up to you. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it for WA.
Let's do it. Let's get this thing going. Let's move it along.
If you like Julie Anthony's last album, you'll love What a Feeling.
And the only way out is the only way in, and it's you.
16 hits.
Why do you have to be a heartbreaker?
Some Kind of Friend.
Maybe that was some kind
Truly,
of friend.
We've Got Tonight. Gloria. The Only Way Out.
I think they've got your number.
Heartbreaker. You Are.
You are the sun, you are the rain.
What a Feeling. Julie Anthony's brand new album.
The sun where we belong.
You should hear how she talks about you. On the Wings of Love, Up Where We Belong, and the hit from Flashdance.
What a feeling.
What a Feeling. 16 of today's hottest songs from Julie Anthony.
Bunbury's first move to beautify the shores of Coombana Bay is finished. The last of the 3 silos that have stood on the bay for 30 years came down today.
That was the scene this morning as the silo was brought to the ground by bulldozers. It's to be cut into 20-metre strips and sold for scrap. For those who thought it all a bit too fast, here it is in slow motion.
Two Manjimup men appeared before the Bunbury District Court today to be sentenced on charges of forgery and unlawful wounding. Michael Gerard O'Rourke was found guilty of 6 counts of forgery, and he received a maximum sentence of 4 years imprisonment with a minimum of 9 months. Alfonso Gardanino was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment with a minimum of 6 months for unlawful wounding. The 1984 Walk Against Want campaign has begun. Members of the Community Aid Abroad Society launched their appeal today for country towns to participate in the walk, which will take place on Sunday, April the 8th. Society member Scott Christie is touring the southwest to talk to school children on the reasons for the walk. He says entrants are invited to walk, jog or cycle.
Well, the walks in the southwest are so far in Albany, Esperance, Collie, Bunbury, Manjimup and Denmark, and of course we like other southwest towns to join in. We're looking for service clubs, people from church groups, youth groups, those sorts of people, perhaps to organise them, and we'd like the whole community to take part.
What's involved in the Walk Against Want?
We encourage people to take part either by walking or cycling, and to get sponsorship, which is then turned into money for our projects.
How can donors be sure the money is going to reach those that need it?
We use very direct channels for our aid into community organisations that are run by the poor themselves, so we can guarantee that, that aid gets right through to the projects that the people themselves are involved in and want to happen.
Racing was in Bunbury today. The track is in perfect condition for the start of the round next week. The feature race today was the $7,000 Carindale Stud Sprint.
At the 900, Monakind pulled her way to the lead. Monakind by a length on Novrak, left up on the outside of Secret Medal. A length to Miss Mancini, a half length to Never Vain going well. A length to Robbins Joy and Academy Joy, followed back in the field by Biscay Wind. A length to La Belle Taj, London Moon, Tristram Star. And Out of Tune on the inside, about 8 or 10 lengths away from the leader. Inside the 700, Monakind in front by a half length on Novrak. A length and a half to Miss Mancini, followed by Secret Medal. Never Vain now wants a clear run approaching the turn. Around the outside, Robbins Joy, followed by La Belle Taj, Biscay Wind, and then came Academy Joy as they sweep around the bend into the straight. Novrak now went to the lead from Monakind. Here's Miss Mancini running a big race down the outside. Never Vain off the fence now in the clear, joining in, and they're being followed by Robbins Joy, Biscay Wind with nowhere to go, and La Belle Taj down the outside. At the 100, Novrak just in front. Never Vain throwing down the gauntlet down the outside. Never Vain and Novrak. Never Vain and Novrak. Never Vain. Never Vain by a head on Novrak, Miss Mancini third.
And the winner, Never Vain, paid $1.20 for the win and 65 cents for the place. Novrak paid 70 cents for second and Miss Mancini $2.55 for third. A helicopter will be used to lift a heavy microwave tower for the State Energy Commission tomorrow and Friday. The lift will take place in rugged forestry country at Mount Saddleback near Boddington. The tower will be one of 10 repeaters in a communications link between Muja and Meriden. Well, that's the way it is in the Golden West Network viewing area today. I'll be back just before Sale of the Century with all the local weather details. Stand by now for the National News Hour with Russell Goodrick and Greg Pearce.
In 5 continents, there are people who have something in common that comes from the Bunbury region. Steve Townsend sells it at his paint shop in Bunbury, inside these tins. Susan Smith, at the cosmetic counter in Bowens of Bunbury, persuades her customers to use it. Yachts, like Australia too, face the water with a coat of it on their hulls. What is it? Where does it come from? It's that whiter than white titanium pigment from the Laporte plant in Australind. Used in paint, white rubber, lipstick, plastics, and 1,000 other products in daily use, creating directly and indirectly 1 job in 20 in Bunbury, selling a local product to the world.
Free meat. Just retain your docket from Sainsbury Meat of Clive Street, Katanning, and you have the chance to win cash back for your purchase. If you're lucky enough to have bought meat on the day drawn out of the barrel, Sainsbury Meat will give you cash back. This offer is for 1 month and results will be in the Great Southern Herald on March the 15th. Sainsbury Meat sells quality Harvey beef and this is a fabulous offer. How can you lose? Sainsbury's are the meat specialists. Clive Street, Katanning.
Right, Jonesy. Oh, right, fellas. What's he so happy about? Jonesy, Mrs. put a steak in your lunch?
No, just a hard-boiled egg.
Oh, how extraordinary.
That's a joke.
Yeah, almost.
The people in your heart can't see inside your heart. They need to hear what's in your heart from you. If you love them, let them know it every day.
Staying in love. It's even better than falling in love.
Spills from trucks on Perth roads. The government signals a crackdown. A campaign in the Philippines against Australian men sexually exploiting children. Perth citizens respond to an urgent appeal. The shortage of O positive at the blood bank is over. Good evening, this is the Channel 9 News Hour. Greg has more news headlines.
news.
Yes, thanks, Russell. In sport tonight, Greg Chappell has some good news for Australian cricket followers, but on a lower note, the remarkable story of a man's frustrated attempt to get an ambulance for his dying mother. Here's just part of his phone call for help.
What do I have to do to get an ambulance out to this house?
You have to answer the nurse's questions.
All right, what are they before she dies? Would you please tell me what the hell you want?
Well, I tell you what, if you cuss one more time, I'm going to hang up the phone.
Well, I'll tell you what. What if it was your mother in there and can't breathe? What would you do?
Only minutes after those words, the mother died. It's a tragic story of a communication breakdown later in the bulletin.
State Minerals and Energy Minister David Parker today pledged that if there have been breaches of the law in 2 recent chemical spills on Perth roads, then prosecutions will be laid. Mr Parker made his statement following a series of Channel 9 news items which showed that in last Friday's sodium cyanide spill, sections of the law introduced just 7 days ago had been allegedly broken. The Minister has said that he'll look at the Channel 9 news tapes, and if prosecutions can be sustained, the government will take action. Don Willesee reports.
The first reaction came this morning during discussion of Channel 9's news stories on the Sattlerfile radio program. The Minister for Minerals and Energy, David Parker, said in an interview that it appeared that something dangerous had happened over the past week. The Minister said he would call a meeting of the executives of the large chemical companies and trucking companies to ensure that they do comply with the law. Additionally, the Minister said he will personally inspect several of the larger chemical companies within 2 weeks. Mr Parker said he was very concerned that despite the new legislation introduced this month covering the transporting of dangerous goods, there had been 2 spills in 4 days. Referring to Friday's sodium cyanide spill, Mr Parker said, "I'm not holding back just because the 2 companies involved are substantial ones. If they have broken the law, they will be prosecuted." The State Manager of ICI, Mr Jack Decent, said today that his company was now carrying out a full internal investigation. Some of the points ICI will have to look at are their loading procedures, the labelling of poisons and chemicals, security of the chemicals in their possession. Mr Decent said, quote, "We welcome the meeting suggested by the Minister and his inspection of chemical companies." Bell Brothers General Manager David Gillum said, quote, "No comment" to the Minister's concerns. Bell Brothers are reported to have been the contractors employed by ICI to carry the sodium cyanide in Friday's spill. Mr Parker has also called for a special report on yesterday's massive spill of toxic herbicide at Kundoola from a truck owned by Total West, a company half-owned by the state government-run West Rail. Don Willesee, Channel 9 News.
A big quantity of gelignite was stolen last night from the state government explosives depot at Woodman Point, just south of Fremantle. 95 sticks of the explosive, weighing about 16 kilograms, were stolen after thieves broke into the storage depot around midnight. Anyone finding any of the explosive should not touch them. Instead, call the police. After breaking through the front gate at Woodman Point, the thieves cut padlocks to storage bunkers to get the gelignite. However, in their exit, they left behind fuses and detonators they'd stacked near the front gate. Sydney detectives say they've had no successful leads following yesterday's bomb attack on a family court judge. The bomb virtually destroyed the home, although Justice G escaped with minor injuries. His 2 children, who were also home, were shocked but unhurt. Police say they've been given information by the judge on possible suspects, and a number of leads are being followed.
One lead police followed today was the possibility the bomb was made of gelignite recently stolen from waterboard depots around Sydney. A large quantity of the explosive is missing, and it's now believed up to 50 sticks of gelignite was used in yesterday morning's bombing. Detectives say they're also investigating a possible link between the bombing of Justice G's house and the fatal shooting 4 years ago of another family court judge, David Opaz. It's understood they want to question a number of people who had been connected with the Opaz killing, though were never charged for lack of evidence.
Are you able to say just how many suspects there are?
No, I'm not.
Are you talking to anyone, questioning anyone?
We are talking to people on an hourly basis.
This afternoon, detectives again interviewed Justice G, who remains under police guard in hospital, where surgeons yesterday removed fragments of wood and glass from his legs.
There was uproar in federal parliament today as the opposition launched a sustained attack on High Court Justice and former ALP Minister Lionel Murphy. Leader Andrew Peacock is demanding Justice Murphy step down, following allegations that he's the judge named on the so-called age tapes. But the government has rejected the charges, and refused an opposition demand for a royal commission.
The charges against Justice Murphy were first made public yesterday in the Queensland Parliament. Today, the furor boiled into the National Parliament when Opposition Leader Andrew Peacock called for a special federal inquiry into the allegations against the judge. He touched off a sustained uproar of protest from the government benches when he went to one specific issue. Did Lionel Murphy, as Federal Attorney General in 1974, overrule police and order the return of a confiscated passport to a convicted drug trafficker? Prime Minister Hawke didn't mince words in his reply. Mr. Peacock was engaged in a most despicable exhibition of descending into the gutter. He is using illegally obtained and totally unauthentic tapes to drag into Parliament the reputation of decent Australians. Mr. Peacock and his supporters kept up a non-stop barrage of interjections, and that ended only after Speaker Harry Jenkins 3 times warned Mr. Peacock to stop. But Deputy Opposition Leader John Howard makes it plain the attacks will continue.
Certainly, we'll be pursuing the matter in the Parliament again tomorrow. The government refuses to allow the Parliament to discharge its constitutional responsibility of deciding whether a federal judge has been guilty of misbehaviour. That's the central issue, and we'll keep pursuing that one.
Tonight, the opposition's looking at one fairly dramatic option. It could combine with the Democrats in the Senate to force its own senatorial inquiry into the Murphy age allegations. That inquiry would have the same effect as a royal commission. Peter Harvey, Canberra.
The effects of the continuing row over the age tapes has yet to be gauged, but there appears to be little to reduce the government's popularity. The results of the latest Gallup poll, published in the Bulletin today from a survey before the latest row began, show Prime Minister Bob Hawke maintained his high image, although he'd dropped 3%, a drop reflected in the popularity of his government and the coalition. For Andrew Peacock, discouraging news. He experienced the same drop, indicating more Liberals prefer Bob Hawke as PM by almost 2 to 1. The coalition recorded the only turnabout with a 3% increase. Pop star Elton John unexpectedly instrumental in the birth of a baby at his Perth concert last night. The full story when the News Hour continues.
Home Building Society now offers even easier home loans. Come on in, take a seat. We'll sit down with you and work out how much you can borrow and discuss your safest level of commitment. We'll let you know all about mortgage and home insurance too. And our new low starting home loan rate is sure to make you happy. Call into a home loan advisory centre. There's one at a branch near you.
You feel right at home.
This week, we've got big savings and big values with our great poultry sale. Save a good deal on big specials like these.
Woolworths frozen chickens, great value, $3.49 each. Arnott Mills & Wares chocolate or plain Victoria sponges, 99 cents each. Fab and Cold Power detergent, just $2.99 a packet. Legs of lamb, another good deal, $3.99 a kilo. Save on these and more during Woolies' great poultry sale.
Good food costs a good deal less at Woolworths supermarkets.
Preen's reputation as the great unstainer happened quite by accident. But Preen's reputation is spotless. Watch how Preen outperforms any Trigger brand on oily stains with something Trigger brands don't have. Special solvents that dissolve the oily stain and lift it clean away. That's Preen Clean. Quite by accident, Preen is the great unstainer.
It's on again, the 1984 Wagin Woolorama, on next Friday and Saturday, the 9th and 10th of March. Wagin Woolorama is Western Australia's premier sheep show. It's the largest gathering of quality merinos in Australia. This year's record entries in the wool section will ensure a top display of fleeces. See the shearing competition on Saturday. It's part of the State Championships competition. It's a great day for the whole family. The 1984 Wagin Woolorama, a great show for everyone.
Police today strongly advise parents to caution their children about speaking to strangers, the warning being prompted by another attempt to entice 2 young children into a car. For the second time in a fortnight, a man in a yellow panel van was involved, this morning offering a ride to 2 children walking along a road in Jarradale near Pinjarra. They declined and the man drove off. His vehicle is described as a well-kept 1976 to 1980 Falcon panel van, windows on the left side, double doors at the rear and a black kangaroo bar. The driver is described as Australian, aged about 30, with medium-length sandy hair and a darker coloured moustache. He was wearing light brown shorts and a black working singlet. A town in the Philippines has launched a campaign to rid their village of foreign men, many said to be Australians, who are sexually exploiting their children. Authorities in Pagsanhan say the men lure the boys into vice with money and gifts. Shane Mooney reports the problem was first highlighted after the laying of charges against 2 Melbourne men.
Pagsanhan, 130 kilometres south of Manila, is a tourist haven. Thousands of foreigners pass through the historic gates leading into the town each year, bringing with them welcome tourist dollars. Most tourists come to this town to enjoy a canoe ride and what's referred to as shoot the rapids. But in recent times, there's been much publicity about another attraction, the exploitation of young boys. The problem of pedophiles in this idyllic village first surfaced in the late 1970s. It was not until a few months ago, though, that the campaign gained wide acceptance. A large part of the reason, the disclosure in Australia of allegations of sponsors of Filipino children taking sexual advantage of them. In a police raid in Melbourne by members of the Delta Task Force, police seized hundreds of slides and photographs of Filipino boys engaged in indecent acts. Disturbed and outraged at the influx of deviant tourists, the townsfolk have launched a campaign to rid the town of pedophiles, that is, adults who enjoy sex with children. Large signs around the town tell of the dangers of young males having sex with older men. All around the village, teachers have been holding special meetings to make parents aware of the problem. They concede, however, that some parents know that their children are having sex with adults, but because of their own financial hardships, are unable to do anything about it.
They are enticed by the tourist or the foreigner by saying that they will be sent to school, he or the foreigner will help him through school, give him gifts like clothes, and later on, they are given bicycles, motorcycles.
The government has responded to the town's cry for help. Any foreigner found guilty of taking advantage of Filipino children now faces a long-term jail sentence. Shane Mooney, National 9 News.
A Carnarvon woman twice jumped into the flood-swollen Gascoyne River early today in a vain bid to rescue a friend who is now thought to have drowned. The missing man is Kevin Pearce, aged 29, of Carnarvon. He and the woman, Faye Brown, were sitting near the river when Kevin Pearce is believed to have fallen in. Perth's critical shortage of O-positive blood, the most common type, was solved today with a record flood of donors. Paul Byrne reports.
Yesterday, the O-positive fridge at the Red Cross's City Blood Bank was empty. There wasn't enough to cope with an emergency. Today, the shelves were filling rapidly as a record 300 donors, 3 times the normal daily attendance, lined up to give their vital supplies. Telephones at the blood bank, Royal Perth Hospital and Channel 9 ran hot after our story last night revealing the dangerous shortage. The blood bank rushed staff into their headquarters to take the calls. Many people went directly to the Morley Mobile Clinic featured in the story to give straight away.
Well, it's been absolutely magnificent.
Has it solved all your problems?
I think for the time being it has. We now have adequate stocks of O-positive blood and all other groups as well.
Today's response was so heavy that people who phoned after 10 o'clock this morning were asked if they could save their donations till Easter, when current stock should need renewing. Paul Byrne, Channel 9 News.
When you're a true Elton John fan, nothing can keep you away from his concert, though one tiny baby did her best to prevent the show going on for Bill and Diana Stevenson of Applecross last night. Terry Woods reports.
When tiny Chloe Stevenson decided to enter the world 18 days ahead of schedule, her mum and dad were forced to miss the final encore at last night's Elton John concert. By then, Diana Stevenson's contractions were coming 3 minutes apart. Husband Bill was timing them to the music.
We hoped that we could stay longer for the concert, of course, but we started checking them. The first ones were about 5 minutes, then they got down to 4 minutes. That was about 10:30. And I said to Diane, they're all right, they're only 4 minutes. We've got time yet, we can stay for a few more tracks. And then they got to about 3 minutes by about 11, so then we started to head towards the doors to leave.
Bill and Diana are old Elton fans. When they bought 2 tickets to the concert, they joked about the baby coming early, but never really gave it a serious thought. For the Stevensons, Chloe couldn't have picked a better moment to arrive. Even the star himself sent flowers to the little girl named after one of the songs on his LP, The Fox. Terry Woods, Channel 9 News.
Quite funny because we have joked.
Wonder if they had to pay for the third ticket. Ian?
Very desperate measures for a free ticket, I would have thought, Russell. Good evening, everyone. When I clambered from the arms of Morpheus early this morning, I thought, hello, drizzle, overcast, I've been fibbing to the devoted viewer again. But conditions did improve during the day. We reached around the 27-degree mark this afternoon. However, tomorrow there is the chance of a thunderstorm, and with an expected top of 33, we can all enjoy our own little communal sauna called Perth. I'll have the details later.
When a grower sends his wool to the Albany wool stores, the first benefit is Westrail's 50% rail freight subsidy. Rail or road, it's cheaper to Albany. He'll get his wool to more sales, faster, and get a faster return. Won't pay it.